Okay, this is our second of our Zoom meetings that we're going to have to discuss, to review what we've been covering in Beginning Bridge. And we've already had a rocky start, sort of, in getting this class going. We had to postpone 1 week because we hadn't taken into account an event that was going on at the Bridge Center. So we did that. We got that pushed back a week. We had the first meeting, then the next meeting iced out. So, well, actually, probably weren't iced out, but we thought we could be iced out, and we didn't want anybody to have to drive and all that. So, we didn't have the second meeting. So now we're back, week number 4 from our original schedule with our second meeting. But so I made up a new syllabus and handed out to everybody. So let me take a look at that. Does everybody have the syllabus on their screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Zoom is changing a lot of things. Some of them are for the better, and some of them are just for driving me nuts. So, but anyway, here's the new syllabus. The new syllabus has each class that we have had or are going to have, the date, what chapters we're going to cover that time, and who is going to cover the chapters. Because I'm doing the first 3, then Linda's doing 4, and then I'm back for the last actual class. Plus, she and I'll both be at the play party that's at the end of the session. Um, and I want you in particular to notice that although in our book, chapter 3 would be what we would cover next week, chapter 3 does not occur until in March. Okay. It's we moved chapter 3. We're going to do chapter 4, 5, and 6 before we go back and pick up chapter 3. So for those of you that like to read ahead, I just wanted to make sure that you knew where we were going to be when. So we still will do the Zooms for the next 2 weeks. And I don't know if Linda is going to do those or not, but Linda can share that with you when Linda starts the class on February 21st. We still, though, she and I both are doing the extra hour after class is over where you can stay and play some of the hands, and we'll discuss the hands if you want to. We won't discuss any new concepts because we want to get those all in the class time when everybody will be there, but we will go over some of the hands that are in the book, or just you can just play whatever hands you want to also. Okay, so since we got our books this week, I wanted to go over the book. The books are the Audrey Grant's American Contract Bridge Leagues, Bidding in the 21st Century. These books were originally developed in the early 2000s and were revised in about 2015, something like that. And now they're on their third major revision. This is the new version of this book that's been through several iterations and has been around since the early 2000s. It's really good. That's why it's lasted so long. It's this book and another of Audrey Grant, her series. Between those two, practically everybody that teaches beginning bridge in the U.S. uses these books because they are just really well written, very thorough. In the book, the table of contents, of course, lists every chapter and what we cover. But if you'll go down through the table of contents, you'll see that most chapters have the things that are going to be covered in there. And one of the things that's covered after the other new material is covered is a section called Guidelines for Play. And that's, I believe, in every chapter. This is a bidding book, but you have to play the hand also. You know, bidding is important that you get to the right contract, but if you're not able to play the hand well, to take your tricks well and decide what tricks you need, it's going to be difficult for you to play. So that's what this guidelines for play is in every chapter. We won't necessarily cover those in detail in class, but I'd really suggest that you read those because those are going to be real useful to you. And they're, to me, they are better reading than some of the bidding. I think the bidding is better discussion, but the guidelines for play, I'd really suggest you read. After the guidelines for play in every chapter, then there is a summary, which are very good for each chapter. Then there are exercises for each chapter, and the exercises include also sample deals. So I would really recommend that you use this book. I don't care if you read it before, you read it after, what you do with it, but I mean, I would really recommend that you get a lot of your information and material out of here and have it supplemented by our class time and by these kind of review sessions that we do. So looking at, just as a review, since we didn't get our books till this week, a little bit of a review over from chapter 1 is chapter 1 introduces the idea that this is a partnership game, that you and your partner are together against the other two people at the table whose partnership are together. Bridge can only be played with 4 people. That's one of the kind of barriers to play, is that you can't have a lot of people playing. The other barrier to play is that you can't sit down and learn it in an evening. That's why you all are in this class. It's a little bit difficult to learn and start getting into it. But once you get into it, you get into it at a base level. It's a fascinating game that you can add on to as you want for years and years and years and years, or you can stay at your base level and play a perfectly good, fun game. So Bridge is, I know I keep touting Bridge, but I love Bridge. I think it's a great game. Okay, so it's a partnership game. It's played with a regular deck of cards. In a regular deck of cards, there are 52 cards, right? And there are 4 suits: clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. So out of the 52 cards, there are the 4 suits. So that means there are 13 cards in every suit. In those suits, every card, there is an ace, a king, a queen, a jack, and then 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. An ace in Bridge is the highest, the 2 is the lowest. Some games have an ace be like a 1, but in Bridge, an ace is the highest one. The king is next, then the queen, then the jack. Those kind of make sense. Ace, king, queen, jack, then 10 on down. Because we need to have a way to discuss our hands as we're getting ready to play, and we need to have a measure for how to evaluate the hands, how good our hands are, we have a method for doing that, and that's our hand count. Do you see on the screen now the ace, king, queen, jack for the hand valuations? Everybody see that?
Mhm.
Okay. So what we do is, once we get the 13 cards, because we'll have 13 cards in our hand once the cards are dealt out. We've got 13 cards. We sort the cards into suits, and then within the suit, we put the cards in order by rank. You look at your hand and you look at every ace you have, that's 4 points. A king is 3, a queen is 2, a jack is 1, plus you get an extra point for every card you have over 4 in a suit. So this helps us value our hands, and it helps us compare how much we may have as opposed to how much the other pair may have. Now, if we have the values being an ace is 4, king is 3, queen is 2, and jack is 1, how many points could we have in any suit?
10.
10. The ace plus the king plus the queen plus the jack. So that's 10 points. And how many suits are there?
4.
4. So 10 times 4 is 40. There is a maximum of 40 points in the deck. Now, there can be a few extra points. These extra points I said that we add for length, but we don't usually count those when we're thinking. We just, as far as when we're thinking about how many points are in the deck, we usually just think 40. But do know that there are some extra points out there in any given hand. It's just that we can't tell. how many there are going to be. It depends on the distribution of the cards as they're dealt out. So what you do is you look at your hand, you see how many points you have, and we go through a bidding process where we're communicating with each other about what we have in our hand. And the whole thing that we're trying to do while we evaluate what's in our hand is we're trying to decide how high do we want to bid and where do we want to be, what suit or no trump do we want to be when we stop. Let's look at the bidding ladder because we can kind of see here how this works a little bit. When you are bidding in bridge, and there is the bidding part, which is called the auction. That's where we decide what our contract is going to be, what we are going to play for, what we are going to, how many tricks we're going to try to make, and whether we're going to have a trump suit or whether there will be no trump suit. That's what the bidding's for. In this bidding ladder, the ladder is structured so that you can start as low as one club, and then we go up because in bridge, each suit is ranked. Clubs is lowest, then diamonds, hearts, spades, no trump. Then two clubs, two diamonds, two hearts, two spades, two no trump, three clubs, etc. On up to 7 no trump would be the maximum thing that you could bid. While you can start out as low as one club, you don't have to start out there. You can start out anywhere on the ladder that you want to go. You might start with 1 heart or 2 spades or even 4 hearts for possible opening bids. You can start anywhere you want. But the rule is you cannot go down the ladder. No one can go down the ladder. So if you start at 1 spade, the next bid another person could make would be 1 no trump up the ladder. But they, the same way, you don't have to start at 1 club. They don't have to go just the next one up. They can skip up the ladder too. If you bid 1 spade, the next person might bid 2 diamonds or 3 clubs. They can bid whatever they want as long as it's higher up the ladder. You can never go back down the ladder. It's kind of easy to see this because when we use our bidding boxes that we have on the tables that we use when we are bidding at the Bridge Center and in our class, those are all in order. So it's hard to try to go back in there. You always need to go down the list or up the ladder as it is in this case. We use those bidding boxes, by the way, both in our class and when we're playing in a regular game at the Bridge Center for several reasons. The reason that we do it when we're inside, when we're playing at the regular games is the first thing is it's quieter in the room if there's not the bidding going on. It's just quieter and people can concentrate better if you just are putting a card down on the table. The second reason is other people can't hear the bid. So they don't know what's going on at your table where you're playing. They just can concentrate on their table and they can't hear anything from your table. The bids are just all down on the table. We have those reasons, plus the reasons we do it when we're in a training session is we can all see all the bids that have been made, and I, as the instructor, can come by and see what bids you're making. So it makes it easier for me to see if you've done everything right or if you've gone astray somewhere, and if so, where you did. So that's why we use them in the classroom. If you're just playing party bridge after you get outside of the class and you don't play bridge at the Bridge Center, you're just going to play with family and friends, you won't use those bidding boxes. Then you'll just say the bids out loud. It talks on page 5 in your book about how the tricks work. Once we've decided where we want to be, well, before we get to that, let me finish the discussion on the bidding ladder. Sorry. On the bidding ladder, when we have decided through our communication between our partner and us, and also the opponent and their partner, we're going to decide how high up this bidding ladder we need to be. And we can decide that based on how many points we have between us. If there are 40 points in the deck and we've just got 20 or 21, the other people have 20 or 21. So we really can't bid much above the one level, just at that one level. We might bid there, but then we'll try to stop and not go any higher if we find out that's all the points we have. We've got a little bit more, 22 or 23. We can probably play at the 3 level, 2 level. And if we have 24 or 25, we can be up at the 3 level. Now, when we get to the 3 level, there is a key number that you need to remember, and that's the number 25. If you have 25 points between you and your partner, and those are valuation points, hand valuation points, you should be able to play at the 3 level, and you should be able to get a game. 3 no trump, 4 hearts, and 4 spades are games. And see, it points that out here. 3 no trump, 4 hearts, 4 spades. The reason we care about that is because I don't want to spend a lot of time with you going over scoring. You don't need to know it. You can look at the bidding cards, will show it. If you play bridge at the Bridge Center, there's little handheld computers, you put the results in and it gives you the score. So you can live without knowing the score. But in order to bid properly, you need to know that you're trying to get to 3 no trump, 4 hearts, or 4 spades. And the reason you're trying to do that is because in addition to the regular scoring, which you don't care about, you'll get bonus points, a lot of bonus points, 300 to 500, depending on some scoring issues you will get. So that's a lot of points. Ordinarily, if you play a hand, say, 1 no trump or 2 spades, that's about 100, 120, 30 points. But if you bid a game, you get those points plus 300 or 500 points. So that's a big difference. That's why the part of the scoring that you just need to worry about is that we are trying to get to 3 no trump, 4 hearts, or 4 spades. 5 clubs and 5 diamonds is also a game level bid, but we don't like those. And the reason we don't like those is you have to take 5 tricks, which we've discussed in bridge is 5 plus 6. Because when we're bidding, we're always saying we can take the minimum of 6 plus these extras. So if we bid 5, we are saying we can take 11 tricks. We will just lose 2 tricks. Well, that's hard to do. It's really hard to make that. Plus, it's not worth as much as the ones that are lower down. So we really don't like to go up there. The only reason we go up there is if we have a real distributional hand and we know that we are missing cards in a specific suit, because then the opponents have that suit. And in no trump, which is where we like to play, in no trump, if we have clubs, hearts, and diamonds, that's great. And we have a lot of tricks in clubs, hearts, and diamonds. That's good. But if the opponents have all the spades, they can take all the spade tricks before we can get our tricks. And then we can't make our contract. So that's why no trump is dangerous. But usually, if we know that we have a game fit in clubs or diamonds, if there is any way we can do it, we will prefer to play 3 no trump rather than 5 clubs or 5 diamonds. Only when we know we're missing a suit or even 2 suits do we go to the 5 clubs or 5 diamonds. So we get there sometimes, but only because we have to. Otherwise, we take a chance and try to play 3 no trump. Okay, so the hands have been dealt out. We've sorted them. We've valued our hands with how much points we have in there. We have compared during the bidding process. We've compared our points and or combined our points and our partner's points to see whether or not we have 25 points. Because 25 points is game 3 no trump, 4 hearts, and 4 spades. If we don't have 25 points, as soon as we find that out, we stop as soon as we can, lower down the level, because there's no point in us moving up the ladder if we aren't trying to get to the game level. Otherwise, we'll just try to stop as soon as we can. As soon as we find out that we don't have 25 points between us, then we'll stop as low as we can, because there's no point in pushing ourselves up the ladder anymore than we have to. We need to find the right place to stop. So after we have done that, after we have our agreement of what we're going to make, and let's say our agreement is that we are going to try to take 3 no trump. That means we are going to take 9 tricks and nothing is trump. That means the highest card that's played will always win. If you look over in your book on page 5 in your course book, it's talking about taking tricks. And down at the bottom of the page, it gives you an illustration of what it looks like to take a trick. Somebody leads, in this case, they have led, put out on the table the jack of diamonds. The next person plays the 4 of diamonds. The next person plays the 9 of diamonds. The next person plays the ace of diamonds. So the jack of diamonds was a high card, and the other 2 people played lower, but then the last person played the ace. The ace is the highest card played on that trick. So that means the ace won. That means in this case, north and south won the trick. In bridge, we just, to help us keep track of what place we're talking about, we've just named all the seats, north, east, south, and west. Just a way to refer to them. That's all it means. Look over on the next page, though. Page 6.
Harold is Ranju.
Is there a question? Okay, over on the next page.
Harold is Ranju.
Ranju, can you mute?
It's okay.
I'll mute you. Okay. Okay, on the next page, page 6, here we have an example of there's been a lead of the King of Hearts. Then the next person did not have any hearts. They did not have any hearts. So they throw away any card they want to out of their hand. It can be any card. Doesn't make any difference. However, if you're just going to throw away a card, that card cannot win the trick because you have to play the highest card in the suit in order to win the trick. You can't win the trick. You might as well throw away little cards out of your hand. Does that make sense to everybody? I've seen beginners sometimes decide, well, maybe I should throw away this king. I don't know why, but I have seen that decision, but that's never a good idea. Hang on to that till later and throw the little cards out of your hand. And they can be any little card. This is the 2 of clubs. It could have been the 3 of diamonds, could have been the 4 of spades. Doesn't make any difference what you throw away. But you just have to throw away something because you always have to play. There's going to be 13 tricks because we all have 13 cards in our hand. So you have to put a card on every trick. So in this case, the king was led. A 2 was discarded. That's called a discard, was discarded on there. Then the next person played a 6. The next person played a 5. So in this case, the king won. The person that led, in this case, won the trick. It mentions in here that when we are playing at the bridge table, when we win a trick, and this is for our class, when you're playing at home with your friends or your family, you'll just throw the tricks into the center, and whoever wins that trick will pick up all 4 cards and put them in front of them. But we don't do it. Then if you've played other trick-taking games, that's probably been the way you've done it. But we don't do that in bridge. There's a couple of reasons for it. In regular duplicate bridge, what we're going to do is we're going to keep all our cards in front of us. And as we win, just the cards out of our hand in front of us, everybody keeps their hands face down in front of them after the trick is played. And you will then gather up the cards and put them into this little tray that we have that moves each hand separately. There's a slot for north, for east, for south, and for west. You put the cards in the slot, the tray then moves to the next table, and the next people play that same hand. And in duplicate bridge, it's not how well you did with the hand, it's how well you did compared to how well everybody else that plays it does. If you bid 3 no trump and you make 4 instead of 3, you make what's called an over trick. You make more than you needed to, but everybody else just makes 3 no trump. You will get more points there than everybody else. Everybody gets the points that 3 no trump is worth, which is like 500, and if you make one more, it's 530, but you will get a top board and everybody else who just made 500 will just be equal scores. So that's why we do it in duplicate. Well, the reason we do it in our classroom is because we like to then turn the cards back over and discuss the hands that have just been played. So to do that, you need to, rather than throwing the tricks out into the middle and one person picking up all the cards on one trick, everybody, when they're getting ready to play out of their hand, they just show the card on the table in front of them, right in front of them. So everybody can look to see what's been played right in front of you, not in the middle of the table, right in front of you. Then if you win the trick, you put it face down, but you put it the long way between you and your partner. If the opponents win the trick, you put it face down, but you put it their long way, your short way. That shows the long way shows you lost that trick. They won it. If you have it the long way, you won it. Yeah, Michael, you have a question?
I was just wondering if the bidding cards also stay down throughout the play, or they're put away when the contract is
Yeah.
decided.
As soon as the contract's decided, the auction is over, and the auction is over when there's three passes in a row.
Right.
The last bid, then that's the contract. That after the three passes, everybody picks their bidding cards up and puts them back in the box.
Okay.
Okay. So if you put the one you won this way, and then let's say you lose the next one, you put it on top that way, you lose another one, then you win one, then you win another one. See, we're all putting them in order, but if we win or if we lose, they just get put down that way. And that way it's easy to see at the end who won, who how many tricks you won. It's also easy to see what was played on every trick. And the importance of that is sometimes you don't follow suit correctly. And that's when we're playing out in the big room. But sometimes you don't follow suit correctly. And if that's the case, sometimes it's not discovered until the end. Then you can go back and say, oh, I believe on trick number 3 or trick number 4, you didn't play the right card. Well, you can just easily go over and see, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's the 4th card I played. Was that correct or not? So anyway, that's why we do it that way in the big room. And the reason we do it this way in our room is so we can then turn the cards over and we have our own hand then. Because these cards haven't moved anywhere, they've stayed in front of us. We can pick up our hand, sort it back out, put it down, and now everybody can look at the hand real easily, real quickly. We could always resort them, but that takes a while. It's just easier if we play this way and put them in front of us. And if you want to play at the Bridge Center, it's just good to get used to doing that anyway. And I hope all of you do want to play at least sometime at the Bridge Center. By the way, we had 2 people yesterday, Anna and Stephen, played in the game that was the afternoon after our class in the morning, and they did very well for first time players. They were not last. I expected them to be last, but no, they did very well. So you should tell them all congratulations when you see them next weekend. Okay. If we are playing, that was if we were playing no trump when they just discarded the 2 of clubs, the hand we just looked at on page 6. Look at the bottom of page 7. There is a difference between no trump, like 3 no trump. That means whatever card is highest that's played on a trick is going to win in that suit. Once a suit has been led, the highest card in that suit is going to win the trick. Well, it's different if you have a trump suit. You can say that clubs, diamonds, hearts, or spades are going to be trump. And the way we pick what we want to have as trump is how many cards do we have in that suit? If we have 8 cards in the suit, we have what we call our magic fit. That means if we have 8, the opponents only have 5 cards in that suit. That means we have really a good preponderance. If we have 7, they only have 6, but that's pretty close. That's cutting it close. 8 and 5 is at least what we're looking for. 9 and 4 is better. 10 and 3 even better. But 8 to 5 is what we call the magic or the golden fit. That's what we're looking for. So if we have found through our bidding, through the auction, we found that we have 8 cards between us, we'll play in that suit. We will say that suit is trump. And what that means is that if a trump is played on a trick, that trump will win instead of the highest card that's played. Now, there's some things about this. First of all, if you can follow suit, you must follow suit. So you can't choose to play a trump instead of a card that you have in that suit. So if hearts are led, you have to play a heart if you have it. But if you don't have a heart, you can play one of your trump suit on the trick, and that will win the trick. Look down at the bottom of page 7. That gives you an example of what it looks like when you rough or trump a trick. Roughing and trumping, same thing, means the same thing. In this example, an ace of hearts was won, and West very confidently played the ace of hearts because he thought, ha ha, I'm going to win this trick. But North, having no hearts, put the 7 of spades on there. In this case, spades are trump. And so he roughed or trumped with the 7 of spades. Then the 10 of hearts was played. Then the 8 of hearts was played by the last person. That means even though the ace of hearts, a really big card, was played, the 7 of spades is going to win because that was the highest card played. If, let's say, East, who played the 10 of hearts, East might not have had any hearts. East could play a higher spade than North did, and then East would win the trick. So if East did not have a heart, and East played the 10 of spades instead of the 10 of hearts, East would win the trick. And East is sad that he has to beat his partner's ace of hearts with a trump, but he'll still win the trick that way instead of letting North win the trick. So here's some of the rules. You can trump whenever you want to, but you have to follow suit. So you can't choose to trump instead of following suit. You must follow suit. You don't have to trump if you don't want to. North did not have to play that 7 of spades. He could have thrown away some other card if he wanted to. You don't have to trump if you don't want to. If more than one trump are put on a trick, like we just discussed, the higher trump wins. And the last thing is trumps don't have to be led at any particular time. Like, and I think it's hearts or spades. I know you can't play trump until they've been broken. You can't pull them, or I know there's some rule about that. In bridge, there's no rule like that. At any time you want, anybody can lead a trump, and then everybody has to follow suit by playing a trump. Usually when you are playing 4 hearts or 4 spades or 2 hearts or 2 spades, whatever, you would want to lead the trump suit first to get all the trump out of the opponent's hands so they can't use them to trump your good tricks. That's usually what we do. That's one of the guidelines for play is we usually pull the trump out of our opponent's hands first. You'll also notice that I use the term usually, probably, normally, generally a lot in bridge, and that's because there's exceptions to just about everything in bridge. Okay, it's going along with, and it's the rest of chapter 1, but just in general, going along with after we have played a trick and we've turned the trick over, after all 13 tricks have been played, then we can determine who won or who lost. After the auction is over, after the auction has been completed and the 3 passes have been made, technically what happens is the person that is to the left of the declarer leads. They lead out the first card. Then the person who is the dummy puts their cards down face up on the table, so that in bridge we can always see half the cards. The declarer, the person who won the contract, can see what they have plus their dummy's hand, their partner's hand. The defense can see their hand plus the dummy's hand, so they can see half the cards. But it's the advantage of the declarer and their partner, the dummy, that they can see all the cards that they have the responsibility for playing. So they can more easily manipulate those cards. The defense is at a disadvantage because they can see their cards and the dummies, but they cannot see their partner's cards. Michael, you had a question?
Yeah. So the dummy hand does not go down until that first player to the left of the declarer plays their card.
That's right. The lead comes first, then the dummy comes down.
Okay. Because I think in class we were just kind of putting it down before we even got started, but
Yeah. No, technically the lead comes, then the dummy comes down.
all right.
And the dummy should go down facing the table, so that because the dummy never plays the cards. They should never really touch the cards after they've put them on the table, technically. The declarer is the one who says, play this, play that. And then you pick up the card. But you don't really touch the cards otherwise. You wait. And the declarer should never touch the dummy's cards. The declarer should always tell the dummy what to play. You shouldn't reach across the table and pick up a card to play. You tell your partner what card to play. And then the dummy has to pick up that card and play it. Going through, I don't want to miss anything. Okay. And the guidelines for play in chapter 1 are very good. And I'd suggest you take a look at them because it talks about the opening lead. That card that comes down before the dummy comes down for the opening lead talks about what to lead. And the first thing is generally in no trump, you want to lead a long suit if you have one. The second thing is if your partner had bid, you would want to lead what your partner bid. If you're playing a suit contract, sometimes it's good to lead a short suit, like if you have a singleton, which is one in a suit, lead that. Then maybe you can trump soon. If you don't have any of those things and you're going to lead from a long suit, it's good to lead the top of touching honors. If you have a king, queen, jack, lead the king because it always says that you have the card below it. If you lead a face card, it says, I have the face card below this card. Remember I said that defense is at a disadvantage because they don't know what's in their partner's hand. Well, at least that's one piece of information you can give when you lead. If you lead a face card, you're telling your partner, I have another card in this suit and it's the face card. It's the one that's right below this. Now, if you have the king, jack, 10, those are not touching. So in that case, you would just lead the lowest card that you have in that suit. But touching honors are a good thing to lead and you'll run into them a lot. It talks about second hand playing low, third hand playing high, and these are good things for you to read. So I'd really suggest you take a look at those. And also at the back of chapter 1, there's a good exercise in there that kind of makes you think about, oh, what are some of these terms? Do I know what they mean? On all of the exercises, there are the questions, and then across the page are the answers. So you can easily check yourself really quickly. Just a recommendation, and probably all you know this being adults, but it's a good idea not to look at the answers until you've actually written down what the answer is. You know, I just find myself that I'm thinking in my head what the answer is, and then I look at the answer and I go, oh, that's right. But I really haven't gone through enough of the process to write down and commit to what my answer is. And I think that makes a big difference in your learning, especially in bridge, because bridge is kind of amorphous. You know, it's hard to, you have to pick something. And usually or frequently there's several things you could pick, but there's a best thing that you could pick. And unless you make that decision, write it down, or somehow officially in your brain make that choice, then look at the answers. You're not really doing what you think you're doing by making your choice. Okay, I'm going on now to chapter 2. chapter 2, first thing they do in chapter 2 is hand valuation, and we already discussed that. That's the 4-3-2-1 for valuing your hand. They also talk in there about the shape of the hand, that you can have what's called a flat or a balanced hand. And the definition of that is you do not have more than one doubleton. A doubleton is two cards in a suit. Two cards in a suit. So you're going to have at least 3 or more cards in every suit, and no more than one suit that has 2 cards in it. And if down at the bottom of page 31, it shows you the only possible distributions for balanced hands. That's 4-3-3-3, 4-4-3-2, and 5-3-3-2. Any other distribution, you'll either have 2 doubletons or you'll have a singleton, which you can't have any singleton or void. A singleton, again, is 1 in a suit. Doubleton is 2, singleton is 1, a void is none in a suit. So it just mentions balanced hand. The reason it's important to know a balanced hand is because we can only open one no trump with a balanced hand. And we'll talk about that pretty much later. We'll talk about it a little bit now, but a lot later after when we go back and pick up chapter 3, which is where they discuss no trump. It discusses what they call the golden rules. And there's 2 golden rules in here. One of them is golden games. And we've already talked about that. That is the 3 no trump, the 4 hearts, and the 4 spade games, the 25 points that you need to get those games. That is the golden game. 3 no trump, 4 hearts, or 4 spades. And then the golden fit is that fit we talked about where you have 8 cards in a suit. That's the golden fit. When you're bidding back and forth, each of you take a roll as you bid back and forth. The first person to bid is called the opener. The opener, that's the person who opens the bidding. Now, he may pass. The first person to bid, and the dealer is always the first person to bid. Yeah, the dealer is the first person to bid. They are called the opener, but they don't have to make an actual bid. They may pass, because every time you have a turn, you can either bid, like 1 club, 1 no trump, 2 clubs, whatever, or you can pass, no bid. So the opener, we really refer to the opener. It's referred in 2 ways: to the first person that bid, but that person can't pass. But the first person to bid for your side, to make an actual bid, not a pass, is the opener for your side. And your partner then is the responder. And you'll keep those rolls for that hand. So and the reason this is important is because there's different rules for opener than responder. For instance, you can open with 13 points. You only need 6 points to respond once your partner is opened. So the opener must have 13 points. The responder only needs 6 points. And the whole thing you're trying to do as you're bidding back and forth is to get an idea of how high up the bidding ladder do we want to be, and where do we want to be? Do we want to be a no trump or a suit? Which one of those do we want to pick? So how high and where? And they refer to that as the strain, by the way. What is the strain? And the strain means the suit or no trump. Pick between a suit or no trump. That is the strain. So what level, how high, and the strain. Or I call it where, how high and where. Over on page 36 first introduces actual bidding. The difficult part of bridge, or the part that takes a while and that will bend your brain a little bit, is remembering these bids and what they mean. Luckily, there's some general concepts that you can remember. You don't have to, memorize each and everything. And the few things that you need to remember, it's going to take you a while to get it, but as soon as you get it, everything becomes easier for you. But the first thing to know is to open the bidding, to make the first bid at a table, not a pass, but the first bid. To open the bidding, you need to have between 13 and 21 points. If you have more than 21 points, 22 points, congratulations. I want to be your partner. That's a lot of points. That is more than half the points in the deck. So we rarely see that. It happens. It's not that crazy, but we don't see that too often. That's kind of beyond the scope of our beginning bridge. There does talk about it at the back, I think, of chapter 2, talks a little bit about those bids above 21 points. And the easiest thing to tell you is that all bids above 21 points, you just bid 2 clubs. 2 clubs means I have at least 22 points. It doesn't say anything about clubs. It's what's called an artificial bid. And it's just a way to separate that from all the other 1-level bids. So between 13 and 21 points, you are going to start with either 1 club, 1 diamond, 1 heart, 1 spade, or 1 no trump. Those are your choices, those 5 bids. Between 13 and 21 points, you bid something at the 1 level. Club, diamond, heart, spade, a no trump. The rules it gives you are, if you have less than 13 points, you pass. But if you have between 13 and 21 points, if you have a 5-card or longer suit, you bid your longest suit. If you have 2 5-card suits, or even 2 6-card suits, you bid the higher of those 2 equal length suits that you have. If you don't have a 5-card or longer suit, then you bid your longer minor suit, or the higher ranking if you've got 2 4-card suits, 2 4-card minor suits of clubs or diamonds. If you have 4-4 in the minors, you bid diamonds. If you have 3-3, you bid clubs. It explains this on page 36 and page 37. So let's look at some examples on page 37. We need to figure out our high card points plus our length to come up with the valuation. So on this first example in the middle of page 37, we have 7 high card points in spades plus 1 for length, right? So 8 points in spades, 5 points in diamonds, 1 point in clubs. That's a total of 14 points. Does everybody see that? Should we open this? Yes, we should. We should bid because we have between 13 and 21 points. And so what should we bid? Well, if we have a 5-card or longer suit, we want to bid our longest suit. And so in this case, we have a 5-card spade suit. So we're going to bid 1 spade. 1 spade. Let's look at number 2. On number 2, we've got 4 points in spades, 4 points in hearts. That's the king plus 1 for length. 4 points in diamonds. That's the queen and the jack for 3 plus 1 for length. That's 4. And then an ace, 4 points in clubs. That's a total of 16 points. So should we open this? Yes, we're between 13 and 21, and we always open between 13 and 21. I think all of you were in class yesterday. You know that I made you take the pledge. You actually need to raise your hand and promise me that if you have 13 points, you will open the bidding always. Even if you have 12 points sometimes, but always with 13 points, you will open the bidding. And you will also promise me that always with 6 points, you will respond if your partner has opened the bidding. And I don't care what else is true about your hand. You can't give me an example of a hand that has 13 or more points that you shouldn't open. And you cannot give me an example of a hand with 6 points or more that you don't have a response if your partner has bid. Because that's one thing the beginners tell me all the time. They say, Sally, I know you said if I had 13 points, I should bid, but look at this. I've got 14 points, but what should I bid? I will always have something to tell you should bid. The same thing is true if your partner is bid and you have 6 points. Don't call me over and say, well, Sally, I have 8 points, but I don't have anything to bid here, so I'm going to pass. No, you've got to bid something if you have 6 points, and I'll find a bid. I know I will, and I know you can too. Okay, let's look at the third one down the page. Ace, king, queen. That is 9 points in hearts, 4 points in diamonds, and 1 point in clubs. Oh, excuse me. I just said you should open the second hand. Let's go back and talk about what we should open the second hand as, okay? Sorry about that. I skipped that part. We said you have 16 points in that hand number 2. You've got 5 hearts and 5 diamonds. What should you open? The hearts or the diamonds?
The higher one.
Hearts, the higher one. Very good. If we have 2 5-card suits, we're always going to open the higher of the 2 5-card suits. Okay, the next one down, number 3 on that page, we've got 14 points, and so we should open this, right? What should we open it? Well, we don't have any 5-card suit. We'll always open a 5-card suit if we have it. So now we have to pick between our 2 4-card suits. So which one of those should we pick?
The diamonds, because it's higher.
The diamonds? Well, yes, because when we have equal length minor suits, when they're 4-4, we pick diamonds. When it's 3-3, we pick clubs. If you follow this rule of how you pick these things, 95%, actually closer to 96% of the time, your partner bids 1 diamond, they will have 4 diamonds. If you can't remember that, don't worry about it. But just in general, remember that if you have 4 diamonds, you'll bid a diamond. If you only have 3-3, then you'll bid a club. So that should be 1 diamond. Now let's look down at the last one. Here we have 5 high card points in spades, 1 extra in hearts, for a total of 6 points. What should we open this hand?
Pass.
Pass. We don't have 13 points. So this is one I'll let you pass.
I have a question about so in the third example, the four card are both minors, but if you had if you had 4 cards in hearts and 4 cards in diamonds, you still bid the minor suit if you only have 4.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. The rule here is, and it's not written down because they've written it a different way, but the actual rule is that you have to have 5 in a major to open a major suit. So if you open hearts or spades, you're promising 5 cards in the suit. And I don't know why they go around it this way. This is the first time I've taught out of this book, and but the real rule, and you might just want to make a note of it here on this page, is if to bid a heart or a spade, you have to have 5 cards in the suit. You're promising 5. Your partner should count on you to have 5 in the suit if you open a heart or a spade. So this is what we open if we have between 13 and 21 points. There is one special rule, and that is for no trump, and that is mentioned over on page 38. We're not going to discuss in detail opening 1 no trump because we'll have a lot of discussion of it when we get to chapter 3 way later in the class. But in general, opening 1 no trump is a special bid. It's 15, 16, or 17 points and a balanced hand. And you'll see some examples down here at the bottom of the page. All of these qualify as 1 no trump opening bids because they have 15, 16, or 17 points and a balanced hand. The one that looks the most unbalanced is that number 3, but even that is a balanced hand because our rule is no more than 1 doubleton. And there's only 1 doubleton here. There is an ace 9. That's the doubleton. There's just 1. Now, I don't want you to spend a lot of time on this because, as I said, we will discuss this when we get to the no Trump thing. It's just kind of important to know because that is all the opening one level bids. Either one club, one diamond, one heart, one spade, or all 13 to 21, and the rules for which suit you bid. And then one no Trump is a special bid. Can you see that the one no Trump bid, if you could make it, you want to make it? Why do you think that would be true? Well, if you've got a one no Trump opening bid, as opposed to describing your hand as between 13 and 21 points, you're narrowing it. Now you know it's exactly 15 to 17 points. You know it is a balanced hand. So your partner right then knows a lot about your hand, and your partner now can decide totally on their own how high and where you need to be. There are a couple of things they may do, and that's why we keep you waiting until later to talk about bidding against one no Trump bids, because there's a little bit more for the partner to do. But because you have made that specific bid now, your partner is in charge. Your partner is the one who figures out where you belong. And all these other bids, starting one club, one diamond, one heart, or one spade, you and your partner are going to be working together more. It may change back and forth about who's in charge, who knows the most about which hand, and who knows first where you belong. But in the case of one no Trump, it's always the partner, and it's because that one no Trump bid is so specific. The last thing I want to mention for you is over on page 40 in the book. It brings up the concept of different bids having different meanings. And we'll discuss this more as we discuss responses, but it gives you the example of a stoplight. And red means stop, don't go any further. Yellow means proceed with caution. And green means go. Let's keep going. Let's keep bidding. We don't want to stop yet. And you'll find out how these bids work. There's one change I would make a little bit. It tells you on that stop, it says this is a sign off bid telling partner not to bid anymore. Well, it doesn't really exactly tell your partner not to bid anymore. What it tells your partner is, I've described my hand. You now know what my hand is. I don't have anything else to tell you. Your partner may want to bid more because now your partner knows exactly what you have. You've transferred it back over to your partner being in charge. That's what the stop bid does, is it says, I'm stopping. I don't have anything else to tell you. You can go on. So I would change that a little bit. I just don't like the way that that's worded, because it doesn't really tell your partner they have to stop. It just says, I'm stopping. I'm signing off here. You go on if you want to. Okay, I think that's all that we covered in the first two chapters. So that's covered us through making our first opening bid. And then starting next week, we're going to talk about what responses do we make to the opening bids. And that way we'll be really starting the auction. We've started it off here with the opening bid, but really getting the auction going, we need to know what responses are made by our partner, and then what rebids are made by the opener. So as we go back and forth, we'll be learning this language of communication that we use for bidding. Okay, does anybody have any questions then on anything that we've discussed today? Nope. All right, guys, thanks for attending today. This will be recorded and it'll be put up on YouTube. It's probably going to be later tonight because I've got some things I've got to do first, and it takes a while to get this done. So, but anyway, it will be available by tomorrow morning for you, definitely. Okay.
Thanks
for attending. Yeah. See you later.
Bye.